Let's elaborate on something that Donald Trump was talking about. We got the story from Forbes from a couple days ago. Who wants to read that headline?
Could the U.S. dollar collapse?
Donald Trump was talking about this in his speech as they are throwing everything at him to destroy him. Possibly the only person who can salvage the United States economy and world standing, Donald Trump, they are trying to stop. And if you look at how the Bidens are handling business dealings, it makes a lot of sense. If I had a bunch of money invested in China, I do not want the U.S. to win, right? A bet on China is a bet on China. If Donald Trump gets in office and the U.S. becomes great again and the dollar becomes stronger and the economy improves, all of those foreign investments take a hit. The incentive of these people, if they're investing in China, is to see the United States falter.
But there are opportunities for the U.S.'s improvement to actually improve China and vice versa. That's where the value of trade. It's very odd.
But at this point, what are we going to do about it? Like, that's what he said. He's like, we need to stop this. How? There's no mechanism for us to stop any of this.
What particularly? Stop what particularly?
Like any of this from happening. Like him, them stopping him being indicted.
I feel like it's dominoes falling over.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
That's it. It's a runaway train. I don't know.
It's like
I don't know what to
inertia.
do.
Yeah, there's an inertia in motion right now, but that's only going to continue if no force is acted upon it. So we can change the momentum.
Who's we and how?
Every human that has a camera on the internet can alter the fate of humanity now.
But I mean, that's
Ian,
a very
I think,
big statement with not a whole lot of substance. I'm not sure what.
And when half the people think Trump should be in prison, I don't see how what you're encouraging does anything.
I feel that's sad because it does do stuff. But if you guys don't see it, I mean, I can't make.
No, I can see how like a large. If everybody with cameras did their thing. But you have to remember that most people, like the majority of people, aren't even paying attention to this right now, right? Like my friends who are taking their 3 kids to school every day, they're not watching this. They barely know what's going on. All they know is that he paid a hooker and it's illegal. Like that's literally all they know. And so they don't care. They don't care. And the media, for the 5 minutes that they tune in before dinner, is only going to tell them one side of the story. And our message is really never getting out unless it's to people who are heavily invested in politics, which isn't a ton of people.
It's not. Stormy Daniels is a hooker, isn't she?
I mean
technically.
I got in trouble on that on Twitter. I got suspended for 2 weeks on Twitter for calling her and Izzy Azalea the word that starts with a W and ends with an E. So I'm going to be.
But I mean that as like a scientific and academic term.
No, actually,
she is a woman who is paid to have sex with men.
Correct. She sells her body for money.
No.
And she's very proud. The things that she was
and Trump got it for
today,
free. Is that what happened? Is that why?
Apparently he was flirting with her at a golf game.
I think it was had something to do with the art of the deal, and
he talked her down to a freebie. Let me try it before I buy it. Otherwise, I might want to return it. Ugh. And she was just like, all right, you get one freebie. And then he was like, don't tell anybody. Here's
Listen,
money.
I think those type of women are gross anyway. But she is extra gross. She was today. She was talking on her Twitter about people in her DMs and stuff calling her like a cum dumpster, right? Like I'm trying not to be whatever. And she's like, that is great. Like I would rather be that than arrested. And these people are insane. Like, she really thinks that, her lifestyle...
Well, I just want to point out, it's funny how we can segue from, ladies and gentlemen, the country is collapsing.
I'm sorry.
The dollar is failing.
I'm just so sick of these
Your
women.
livelihood is at stake. But let's talk about this hooker.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what.
At least his cat.
I have
She's
a
got to
reason
talk about the girls.
I think that a lot of this happened because of feminism and women taking over and all those type of things. Huh. And she is just more of that. She's more of that, like women being empowered by their own body, right? She is an extension of that. If we didn't have the feminist movement or even the civil rights, the way they codified, certain things into law, we wouldn't be here right now. We would not be like this, and our society certainly wouldn't be hyper-sexualized and over-sexualized, and I wouldn't be worried about my kids, having to see degenerate stuff in the middle of the street.
That's queer theory, though.
I don't care what it is. It's all degenerate. And listen, we wouldn't have that much degeneracy if men were men and women were women and women stayed home with kids and paid attention to them and did the right thing and kept them off TikTok and stuff. Do your jobs.
Is this another repeal the 19th thing.
Listen, I'm not saying to repeal the 19th, but I would happily give up my right to vote if these liberal women stopped voting. 100%. If that was the deal, you can have it.
Would you give it up forever?
Yeah, forever. I would give up. I don't even think women should really. I mean, I'm here because of necessity, right? Like, we need to live in a 2-income household, and I kind of resent that. Like, if I'm going to do a job, yeah, fine, I'll be good at it. I do a little bit.
You
yeah.
don't need to live in a 2-income household.
Well, I have to.
You just need a good breadwinner.
Right. Okay, but like, not everybody has the opportunity to get a good breadwinner. Okay.
Well, don't sell yourself short.
I'm not saying that, but the point is, it's like if I'm forced to work, which I, in my situation, am, right? I'm going to definitely be good at what I do because I want to secure, things for my children. But like, I definitely resent that. I resent that we're in this type of culture where like I have to work. So it annoys me. But I blame feminism and women for a lot. Actually, probably everything.
That's the nature of progressivism in this country is that what starts with tolerance becomes acceptance, becomes requirement.
And celebration.
At first, it was like women want to work. Oh, no, we can't have that. And then eventually people were like, look, if a woman wants to work, just let her work, okay? If she can do the job, she can do the job. Then that was tolerance. People tolerated women having jobs in some places. Then it became outright acceptance where all of a sudden you're now seeing women being encouraged. Like, this is a normal thing now. Women should work. And then once all women were working, it's a requirement. Women have to work now. It's no longer a choice.
I was doing a podcast today talking to a buddy of mine, and we were talking about the way that, I don't know, I just had a brain fart and I totally lost what I was going to say.
That happens to me all the time. Like, literally
You're talking about women in the workplace?
You were talking women. Okay, so, yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with it. I'm sorry.
Podcast.
It's gone.
It's
coming back.
It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It might come back later, but
Something about repealing the 19th, I think. Is that what you were going?
that's a great idea and everything. No, I'm just kidding.
It's always the men who are like, don't do it, and the women who are like, yes.
He's like, I'm just kidding. But are you? But are you really kidding?
No, honestly, my personal opinion is democracy is not all that great. It's not all that great.
I'm there with you too.
I take a more gender ideological view of voting. And I think it shouldn't be about men and women. It should be about your level of testosterone. So if you have a certain level of testosterone above a number, then you can vote.
Yeah, you can only vote if you take.
I definitely think that there should be some limits to voting. Like, I think that there should be.
There are limits. There are limits
requirements.
To voting.
Okay, like literacy requirements. I think that there should be comprehension requirements. Most people, they read like those, like the extra measures on the ballots, and they don't even know what they mean. They have no idea, and they're just checking boxes, right?
Yeah.
Not only that, like, you should be invested somewhat in your community and own property and own land. I'm sorry, like it's not a freebie. Like, everybody wants everything handed to them in this life. Like, it's not, no.
The idea that the right to vote doesn't come along with some kind of responsibility is a problem. Everyone's very, very keen on talking about their rights and that they have the right to this and that. Rights come with responsibilities. They're attached. They're part of the right. You have responsibilities that are literally ingrained in having the right. So if you have the right to own property, that means that you are responsible for that property. You don't have the right to take something else from someone else. You have the responsibility to get along with your community and stuff like that, because you're free people have the responsibility to behave in a responsible manner, in a way that works with their community and stuff like that.
But people are taking it too far. Like, they're taking the right
100%.
to own property as like the right to own it, to work to own it,
right to someone
the right
else's
to
property.
have property. Like, that's what, that's with everything. And that's why they can get away with half the stuff, right? They're like, we are morally virtuous and superior, and Trump's Hitler. And so therefore we can do whatever we want, and it's completely justified because it's what I want. That's what my feelings tell me to do.
Yeah.
We've lost.
Yeah, I don't see, I've been saying this nonstop for years, but I do not see, based on the paths that we are on, any point at which in the near future there's unification.
I don't either.
And I feel like the more this stuff happens, the more it becomes clear to other people what is happening.
People love to complain, and people love to poo-poo the idea of any kind of civil conflict and stuff like that. But when you tell them, point to the off-ramp, right? So maybe it's not in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, but tell me what happens that makes the people that are on the left and the people on the right agree to some way organized.
I do have a vision of a future with a nonviolent resolution. And that is Donald Trump wins in 2024. He then immediately brings some better people into DOJ, a good AG. Indictments are issued for corrupt Democrats. The people who pushed impeachment and all these other hoaxes are indicted, tried, and charged. The left loses their minds. There will be riotous moments, but it won't reach that level of total destabilization. We will then see some degree of accountability, and then from there, it will push out the corrupt left and limit their ability to move forward. That, along with people having kids, homeschooling them, getting away from cities, is going to start paving a future route where the left becomes marginalized.
I think right now the divide is just too great for that. I mean, I used to be like that Arthur Brooks conservative heart, like Republican, like, oh, we just need to be nice to them and, you know, show our empathy and get that way. And I am not that way now. If you are on the side that is weaponizing our justice system and thinks it's okay, and you are on the side that are sexualizing my children, you are my enemy. Like, literally my enemy. Well, I'm protecting my kids. You're my enemy.
I agree, but what I'm saying is, if Trump wins in 2024 and immediately gets an AG who starts the indictment process, I think that will marginalize the left. Trump's re-election in 2024 will strip them of their abilities to do things like they're doing now, and it will increasingly marginalize them. Their propensity for sterilizing their kids and aborting their own children, combined with conservatives having kids and homeschooling them, will mean that the left will slowly be pushed out, will get smaller. As time goes on, imagine it like this. You got the left and the right. The left will get smaller as the right gets bigger, and then eventually they'll just cease to exist, and the future will just become more populist, pro-America. It starts with Donald Trump getting reelected in 2024.
Yeah, but do you think that's a possibility?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't.
You don't think Trump can get reelected? I think if
I love Trump, and that's who I want. I want him more than I want DeSantis or anybody else. But I think that the majority of
it's ballot harvesting and ballot chasing, and
yeah, but we're not doing that. We don't have that. We don't have the ground game like they do.
They got 2 years to get it together.
But we're not getting it together.
And the story is Orange County, traditionally conservative, introduces universal mail-out voting, ballot harvesting, goes Democrat. Republicans say, hey, wait a minute, boom, Republican again.
You're asking a lot of the establishment people that are already in there. Think about it. Like, how many Scott Presslers do we know? That's the only person that's doing this. You know what I mean? We need like 70 more Scott Presslers.
Without it, it's wicked bleak.
That's what I'm saying.
We got at least 70 Scott Presslers listening right now.
I hope.
Okay, Scott Presslers, I love you. Keep it up.
Yeah, speaking of Scott Pressler, there's a really important election going on in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Is this in Wisconsin? Is that where this is today?
Are the polls still
Wisconsin
open?
Supreme Court vote, April 4th. I don't even know if the polls are still open, but they said make a noise about it. Scott, I'm doing it on the show. A lot of people have been talking about making noise about this election in Wisconsin. Polls, I don't know if they're open all day. I don't know. But if you're able to vote. If you're in Wisconsin, you want to vote for your Supreme Court justice.
I think anybody listening who wants to make sure we win just needs to reach out to Scott Pressler. And he's a leader in this regard, registering voters, leading the charge on ballot chasing and where it's legal, ballot harvesting. And if you want to figure out where to get started and how to get started, he's your guy.
And he's so friendly. Like, he will answer anybody. Like, he's the nicest person, too. So, yeah,
so
I agree.
I don't know. I'm fairly confident. I think if the election was held today, Trump would win. The polls say otherwise, but the polls have always been wrong. They're wrong about everything.
I mean, if there's no election shenanigans, right?
Well,
then maybe.
But here's the issue. Republicans need to get on their ground game.
Absolutely.
The activism, the knocking on doors, the chasing, and the harvesting. But right now, the economy is trash. People are angry. And they're angry with Joe Biden. And I was telling this story about how I was at the casino last weekend, and the guy sitting next to me said he thought the J6er should be executed. He also said Joe Biden has destroyed the dollar, it's worthless, and he keeps sending our money overseas. So this guy clearly hates Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Would he vote for Trump?
He wouldn't vote. He's the kind of guy who abstains. But this is the kind of he's a suburban liberal-leaning guy who hates Donald Trump, absolutely hates Joe Biden now.
But that's not going to help us. Like,
I
guys
think
like him are not helping anything. Did you tell him that?
Democrats were able to win with ballot harvesting, but it was also because everything was locked down. There was no sports, no movies, nothing to do, and then they went ballot harvesting. They do not have that. If next year we get like H5N1 bird flu or whatever, and everything's locked down again, maybe. But Biden can't do it twice. The first time you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me a third time. You're not gonna fool me a third time.
I mean,
George Bush?
there won't be enthusiasm. There won't
You're
be
not gonna fool me
enthusiasm
again.
for him. Like people will not turn out for him. That's probably, I guess, where you
No
can
one
see the uptick.
turned out for Joe Biden.
True.
12 million new voters turned out for Donald Trump. What Joe Biden got was not turnout, but
Ballot harvesting.
but returns. He got returns, not turnout, returns.
Right.
And that was when a universal mail-in vote was sent to someone's house, it got returned. Because the Democrats knew it doesn't matter what the sentiment of the population is. It matters how many of these pieces of paper are in that box. Sure. So I guarantee you, you got some guy knocking on the door. Can I help you with something? Have you filled out your ballot? No. Okay, go. Don't come back. Look, I'm going to come back every day until I see you put that in your mailbox. Okay, fine, whatever. Here, Biden, get out of here. Puts it in the mailbox.
I
And
had
the guy
multiple
says, "Okay."
ones sent to my apartment, and I did absentee ballot. But that's the other thing too with the mail-in ballots. When you separate that outer envelope from the inner, they put them in two separate piles. You're never going to be able to match them up again too. So it's absolutely almost impossible if it's mail-in ballots to tell
But
fraudulent ones from not.
I'm not even concerned about that because
I think Democrats are that crazy. They get 3 ballots sent to
that's-
their house, they're filling them all out and putting send.
100%.
Sure, maybe. But I mean, it is a lot harder. What I'm more concerned with is just outright ballot harvesting.
Yeah.
Like, you send a vote to every single person's house, the return rate's going to be massive. Then you get very lax signature verification, and that's all you need. We don't need to argue anything else. So Carrie Lake's moves to check signatures is brilliant because the reality is a bunch of these ballots are legitimate and got returned, but probably should be disqualified because they're improperly filled out and can't be securely verified. A lot of them are probably not good, which is why signature verification exists.
Right.
This is the funny thing. They say that it's impossible for there to be like, oh, there's no fraud. Okay, Bill Barr said there was fraud. Was there a substantial amount that altered the outcome of the election? He said no. The issue is, with Carrie Lake's election, there was, 17,000 votes? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, now we got a problem. Because we're talking about a very small amount of errors and malfeasance that could cause an election to swing. As it pertains to Donald Trump in 2024, they're not going to have the lockdowns. They're not going to have the political fervor. They may try and generate it with stories like this. The goal of this prosecution may be to get Trump in the news and once again berate regular people over the head and tell them Trump's a criminal because they want Trump in the news. They may backfire on him, though, because they don't have COVID this time to lock people down, take away what they love, and force them into a political world.
But there are a lot of people, and I know this like from people in my own family who were like Trump since he came down the stairs. They are really tired of constant drama. Like
Yep.
they're like, listen, if I love him and I think he's going to do a great job, but if it costs me all this, and I don't feel that way. I want him to go in second term and like burn everything. I think he
Yeah.
would be on the biggest revenge tour ever, and I think it would be epic. So
want it.
I'm 100% there for that. But there are regular everyday people that are tired, are tired of all this.
I'm with you. Like, if he wants to exact justice legally, then whatever. But don't just complain for 18 months about it. Don't be like the radical left and that guy and that guy. Like, I was like nodding off. Like, I get it. Do what you got to do when you get there, dude. But you don't need to convince us.
Well, he probably still needs to convince some people.
Give me a vision of goodness that's
Yeah.
going to come out of this, and maybe you'll convince me.
Well, it's hard to see a lot of visions of goodness coming out of this. I mean, they set the precedent. What I think we should do right now is I think that McCarthy should start doing hearings on Hunter Biden and the laptop and Biden himself and how he was corrupt, right? Like anything they can. And then I think all of
Anything
the
at all.
DAs, anything at all, and all of the DAs should start looking at every Democrat within their state to do the same thing. Here's the deal, right? Like they're already playing unfair. It's time for us to play unfair. What they did was they were like, find me the guy and I'll find you the crime. Do the same thing now. Do it now.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.